Hey, this is Patrick from Frontly. Today I'm going to go through a step-by-step app build tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be building an app for the Frontly agency, which is a new service we're launching allowing users to request paid help building their apps for them, for businesses who don't really have the time, but at the same time I figured I may as well use this as an app build tutorial for those who do want to build their apps themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Add Data Source. I'm starting right from scratch with this app, and I'm going to select Google Sheet. Now I'm going to pop over to my Google Sheet, and you can see it is very simple. We've got name, email, project description, budget, project name, and project summary. Now, I've left these project name and project summary fields here so that I can use AI based on the user submitting these first four. So I haven't set any of this stuff up yet. I haven't even really totally planned it out, and that's half the fun, is that we're just going to go through this together. So all I have to do is copy this and go back to my app and then hit import. So we'll get our project sheet imported, and then we're just going to go create a page. Now, in this case, I have no pages, so we'll just call this project submission. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of Frontly's new standalone input fields, which are really cool. They're basically just a form that you get to build totally custom. Now, if you go into the blocks, you can add them yourself, which are these input, text area, switch, and select. Those are the ones we have right now. But if you also want something a little bit more pre-built, you can start with one of these as well. So I think just for the sake of time, I'm going to click on the custom form, and all this is a column block with a text block in it, and then some rows and columns that are containing these custom input fields. So there's no logic or any kind of custom action set up at all. But if you click on that, you can jump right to this step as well. And as usual, you can always click to delete things. So maybe just to simplify my form a little bit, I can delete this input field for last name. And I'm just going to make this so you can see how I can just edit this as I go. Now we have this as a full width block here, and I'm going to change this to say full name. And email is good. Actually, I don't know if I'm collecting that. Let me go back. I already forget. Yeah, so name, email, description, and budget. Those are the only four fields that I want to have here. So what I'm going to do is instead of favorite color, I'm going to change this to say budget. And now if I go, instead of these colors that I have here, I'm going to say 1,000 to 2,000. Let's see, just make sure these are formatted nicely. And so something that you can do with these label and values is the label's the visual one. If you wanted your value to be something a little bit more streamlined, you could do this too. Like, so in the value, maybe I don't want to have the dollar signs and the commas. It's not really that important, but I just think in general, it's sort of best practice to try to keep things a little bit simpler for your actual values, just so it's more consistent. So there, I've got 2,000 to 5,000. I'll just add one more that's 5,000 plus. And so I guess I'll do that, and then I'll do 2,000 to 5,000. Okay, so I've got my drop down, and it just has these three options for the budget range. And let's see, the default value, I can actually put the default value to that, and I think that should work. Now, I don't really need to have this terms and conditions in this case. So that's, it's more of just an example for sort of like a sign up form. Now, what I think I will do, just so I can show you how this works, like adding a form field from scratch, I'll start here, and, or what should I do? So I have a row, I guess I don't need that. If I go into my column, I can click here to add a block, or I can drag blocks from up here, but the blocks that I want are in this window, and that they don't have the dragging capability just because they're not up in this bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click add block, and I'm going to add a text area. And so it starts down there, but I can drag it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save myself time by hitting Command C and Command V to duplicate my label, just because it already has some styling. You can see there's some margin up here, so that's nice. Now all I have to do is change the name. So this is going to be project. Well, I'm going to say describe your project in as much detail as possible. So that's pretty nice. And then I have to give IDs to these fields. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'll add a colon there. So this is a text area. Now I wonder if I can adjust some of the sizing. I can't remember what the options are here. So yeah, there's a height field. I think in this case, I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, I think I'll add it as a bigger one. And just because of the type of form that we're dealing with here, I might make this also a little bit bigger. Right now the width is 500, I might make it 700. So now we have a more reasonable project description field. So that's looking pretty good. Name, email, okay, this is great. So all I have to do now to kind of complete this form is just make sure that these values are correct. So I'm gonna just make the field IDs match up with my Google Sheet fields, just so it's a little bit easier for me to remember. This one is called budget, and this one is going to be project description. Now, technically these field IDs don't have to match, but again, consistency is much better because it just makes our life easier. So now I'm going to go configure a click action. So looks like the default click action in that in this little block template is just this notification. So probably just delete that for now, and maybe I'll add a notification after. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, because we have these standalone input fields, because they're not already part of a pre-built form, we just have to basically create the form submission custom. So the click action, I'm going to add the first step to the click action. And in this case, I'm going to, let's see, I think I will create a row in the Google Sheet. So that's pretty much the obvious option here. So projects, that's my only sheet. Action type is create. I can add a success notification built in, so I can do that too. It'll say project submitted successfully. Probably just project submitted. The success will be obvious by the green notification. Now, these are all the columns from my Google Sheet, and all I have to do is use this form variable. Now, I'm not sure if it's here. No, I guess not. With the standalone inputs, it's not currently being suggested in this picker, but I can just go form dot, and then this value here is the exact field ID that I enter for that field. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why it's important to just remember what your fields are called. So now I'm just copying and pasting, and I'm just going to change that value. So this is project description and budget. So just from doing that, I've given these fields their IDs, and now I'm referencing the values that the user has entered in this action. So without doing anything else, when I submit that form, it would create a new record in the sheet. Why don't we just test it out just to make sure everything's going well? In fact, I should probably change this. So I should say, I could say interested in having Frontly build your app. And then maybe I'll add a subtext here. Oh, went all the way down to the bottom, but I can just drag it right there. And this one I will make smaller, and I will make light, and I'll say fill out the form below and our team will be in touch. There you go. So, you know, you can, unlike a traditional form block, you can do a lot more custom things here, basically, which is quite nice. And if I wanted to, I could even change the color of this text, but I think this is cool. So interested in having Frontly build your app? There we go. This is great. So let's just hit preview and let's see what happens. So as you can see, my default value for this budget field is filled out, so that's nice. So I'm going to say Patrick Kelly, email patrick@frontliapp.com, and describe my project. Well, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, so I'll just say, I need an app for my marketing agency to allow clients to log in and manage their own data. Okay, obviously in a real case, we'd get a little more information from the users and we'd be able to use that, especially if we're going to go take it to the next level and run some AI summary on it. So if I hit get started, actually I should have renamed this button, but that's fine. So I'm going to say, there we go. So we got the get started, project submitted. So that looks good. And if I go to my sheet, just as expected, it's submitted the information. So that's how you use the standalone input fields, which is great. But I think it would just be a great example here to just set up a very simple one AI step that takes in this information, specifically the project description in this case. That's the only input we really care about. And we're going to have it give the project a name and summarize the project. So let's go back to the editor. I'll just close this for now. And I think what I will do is, let's see. So let's go edit the action and let's edit the button. Let's say submit project. Now in my click action, as you can see that whenever you hover over a step in the multi-step action builder, you can add a step either before or after it. Usually you're just adding it after because in this case, we want to, I'm wrong. Let me delete that. I just realized that what we want to do in this case is we want to run an AI request first, and then we want to create a row in Google. That just makes it easier. So we don't have to create a row and then update it after. We can just create it once we have the values that we're looking for. So I'm going to click on Open AI Request, and now I have this blank prompt section here. I'm going to select the response type to be object. So this is important because what I want isn't just a blob of text back. I actually want two fields. I want one of them that is the project name, and I want one that's the project summary. So for each of these fields, I'm going to just give AI a little bit of a description. I'm going to say the name of the project based on the user's description. And then similarly, it will be, I'll just copy this, but then I will say a bullet point. Here's an interesting thing. So I'm gonna say a bullet point summary of the project. Instead of saying just the project, I'll say the project requirements based on the user's description. This must be formatted in Markdown format. So this is where it's pretty cool. You can ask the AI to respond in a certain format, and Frontly does have an option to display text in a Markdown format, and so we'll be able to use that in the admin side to sort of view the AI summary of the project, which I just think is a cool feature. Now, the prompt will be pretty simple. It will be using this same form variable here, so form.project_description. So that's the variable that we need. We'll inject into the prompt. So I'm just going to actually copy that, but remove it for a second. Now I'm going to write this prompt. It's going to say, you are summarizing a user's project submission for Frontly's no-code app development agency who builds projects for clients who need help. The following is the description that the user provided for their project. So I'll even add some spaces there, and I'll just do that. So this is very simple. I'm just giving the AI a tiny bit of context. You could go a lot deeper, and if you're really building a real app you're going to use with clients, you might spend more time refining your prompt, adding some more context. You can add training examples as well, which is a little more time consuming, but when you do, you can add an example, and it actually gives you the ability to type in a prompt and the response fields. So you really teach the AI exactly how you want it to respond to certain prompts, and then that is very powerful. The AI does quite well with that. But again, I don't think that's even required here. The AI will definitely understand this request. Summarizing is something it's very good at. So we're saying just summarize this, and I'm already asking for the markdown format here, and it knows it has to respond with these two object fields, so I don't think I have to mention that up here. That's great. So now that we've run this AI request in the step 1, and there's a Google request that's coming in afterward, we can just go and update this Google request. We're still sending these same 4 form fields here, but now we have 2 more fields that we want to inject the AI response values from. So Frontly's system allows you to add as many steps as you want in a sequence, and a step that comes after a previous step can always access the response of that previous step. So you can do that here. You can click in this insertion window, you can click previous step. And in this case, there's only one previous step, so it's pretty simple. And when you're using an OpenAI action and you give fields a specific name, then that's the information you enter here. So I can go project name to align with the field name that I used. And I'm now able to just copy and paste that as well, just to save a little time. I forget what this one is called, project summary. So again, if you use the exact column names from your sheet, it's nice because you can actually copy and paste them. Then there's no risk of having capitalization errors or anything that might make it not work. So we're adding the 4 fields that the user is directly inputting, but then we're also adding these 2 AI generated fields. This is very cool. And honestly, the only other thing that I want to do, I think, is probably just create a new page that's essentially the thank you page for submitting a project. So I'm just going to create this. I'm just going to call this thank you. And this is going to be a really, really simple page. I'm going to add a big column. So a column is just a way of organizing information. And I'm going to drag 2 text blocks into this column. And now I'm going to make this say, thank you for your submission. Make this nice and large. I'll remove this minimum width here, and I'm going to say this is going to be 30 or 40. Make this nice and bold. And then this is going to be maybe 25, and this is going to say, our team will be in touch to discuss your project. And well, that's really it. Within 1 to 2 business days. Let's just say that. So I'm also going to remove this default width of 200 here, and I'll set fill remaining space to both of these text. And in this column, I can do a few things. So I want to just add a nice card there, and I want to set the alignment to center. I think for the text, I might have to set the text align to center as well. There you go. Just little styling things that make it nice. And then just to make my card look a bit nicer, I'm going to add some padding. So maybe 30 or 50. There we go. So this is just going to be centered on the page. And I think because this is actually the only thing on this page, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the page width, and I'm going to set it to maybe 600. Sure. No, 800. Anyway, I'm just nitpicking now. All right. So we have a page. It's called thank you, and there is absolutely nothing you can do on this page, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to go back, project submission, and so back to my submit project. I'm just going to add one more step after this Google Sheet step. So we've made the AI request. We're adding it to the Google Sheet, and then I'm going to navigate to this thank you page. That's it. Simple as that. I don't have to do anything special here. I could, of course, submit an email to notify my team as well if I wanted to. So I could add a step here. Oops. This is what happens when you try to add multiple steps into a sequence. So I think what I have to do is that instead. Yeah. So I could send an email So the recipient email, let's just say support@frontllyapp.com, sender name, Frontly agency admin, sender email, we'll just say patrick@frontllyapp.com. Subject is new client submission, and then I should also be able to add form.name here. And then what I'll do is in the body, I'll basically just do the same thing. I'll say new client submission, and I'll say name, and then I'll say project description. Okay, so this is, I guess this is good just to show off the different ways you can use these variables and the different kinds of actions. So this is just going to be a simple email that gets fired off to us internally when we get a new client submission. So that's something very nice to have. You always want to make sure you define the body of the email. So there we go. We're getting the submission. We're running it through AI to get a summary and a name. Then we're adding it to Google, sending an email, and finally navigating to the thank you page. So I'm going to hit save, and let's just check one more time in the live app and see if this is actually working. So I'll say Patrick Kelly, email patrick@frontllyapp.com. My budget is going to be $2,000 to $5,000, and then I'm going to say maybe something a little different. So I'll say I run a vet clinic, and I need some digital processes that organize my spreadsheets, booking, and employee scheduling. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, obviously a real submission would have a lot more information, hopefully, and then the AI will have a little bit more to work with. But let's hit submit project and just fingers crossed that we set everything up correctly. So it looks great. Project submitted. Thank you for your submission. This is very cool. Now I can go to my Google Sheet and see what happened. So I can see that the project name is Vet Clinic Management System, which sounds correct. And now I do have the AI summary here, which is very small, but to be fair, the user basically didn't really give it any useful information here. Also, in this demo app, I'm only using the built-in free access GTP 3.5, whereas if you add your own OpenAI API key, then you can actually use GTP 4.0, and that will definitely provide better quality responses. So that's something to consider. GTP 4 is much smarter, essentially, and so that's something that you will want to do most likely if you're going to use AI in your app. Now, very last thing, for one, I think I will go into my settings. You can see in the live app here that the thank you page is in the navigation, and I don't love that. So I'm going to go to the navigation settings, and I can just go to my page, click on thank you, and click hide page from navigation. So that means that I'll just go refresh this, and I'll just show you that it disappears from the navigation immediately. And of course I can go and I could add a logo here and all this kinds of things. I can add an icon to this page, which isn't that important, but is just kind of a cool thing to do. So what would be a good thing for submission? I mean, really it would be some kind of form or something like that. Let's see. I can just kind of browse. I don't know. I mean, I'll just just click on a cool icon and just leave it at that. So now the icon is in the navigation here. That makes more sense when you have lots of pages, so then it's easier to differentiate between them. But this is looking good. Now, what I would do as the agency, of course, is I would actually want to have a page that is sort of the admin page, and I could call this admin projects. So on this page, I'd probably want to have a Kanban board, and I'll have the projects there. Because I just added 2 projects, I'm just going to hit refresh, and so that's going to pull in. Oh, I see. Yeah, the Kanban isn't really set up correctly right now. Right. Well, there's something that I didn't do is I didn't actually add a status. So that's probably something that I'd like to do. I should go just add a status here, and I can call this pending, and I could call this reviewed and complete or something like that. Or how about in progress, pending, and complete? That makes sense. And so what I would do is I would go back to my page. First of all, I can refresh this data again now that there's more. And in my Kanban, I can set the status field to be used for the Kanban. That's really important because that determines the different values here. And so I can name these a little more nicely. So call this in progress and complete. There we go. I can even give them different colors if I want. I could set complete to be this nice green color, whatever. So what I do want to do now is, I'll go back to my pages, and in the project submission, I'm just going to do one more thing where in my Google Sheet request, I'm just going to set the status to pending. So that just defaults all new creations to pending, just so it fits into my admin Kanban. Really, it's pretty simple. The project submission page, I can go to the, where is it? In the page settings here. Where is it? In more. Okay. So page settings, more. I can turn off the require login, and it's still published. Require login is off. So I'll save that, and I will do the same thing for the thank you page. So turn off require login, and now that I've done that, I have to be careful because if I go to my data sources, I actually need to make sure that my data sources also allow the usage on these public pages. A public page is simply a page that doesn't require a user to be logged in. And so for security reasons, we just have to tell Frontly if we want to even allow those sheets to be used at all on pages that don't require login. So now that we've done this, the important part here is that this project or this admin page that I created, so it probably will, it will show up because I'm logged in. But if I were to log out as the end user, so if I go back to my project submission page, so there you go. Now, as a public user, I'm not logged in. I can submit my projects, but then as an admin user logged into my app, I'm going to be able to view that Kanban and manage it. I'm gonna genuinely use this app to collect submissions to help people with their projects, and so I figured it was just a great way to share this with the community. Anyway, thanks for watching, and just hit subscribe on that YouTube channel for more videos like this, and feel free to reach out and ask questions if you need any clarification on any of this. Talk soon.